Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring, this really fascinating concept of Turiya.
Okay.
And you've probably heard this term,
Yeah.
especially in like spiritual circles and stuff. But we're going to go a little deeper today.
Right.
We're going to be looking at Turiya as like a fourth state of consciousness.
Interesting.
And it's not something that you just achieve.
Right.
It's something you uncover.
Yeah.
And it exists beyond our normal experience of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're looking at today is how this fourth state can, fundamentally change our experience of life, our relationships, even how we see ourselves.
Absolutely. And what's so intriguing is that the source material we're looking at today suggests that it's always been within us.
Okay.
Like a golden thread that's kind of woven through a tapestry. It's present throughout all these states you mentioned. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep.
So I'm really curious about this idea of uncovering something that's already there.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we're constantly experiencing glimpses of Turiya without even realizing it?
Absolutely. Think about that, deep peace that you feel after waking up from a really good sleep.
Or
even in a disturbing dream. Have you ever noticed that there's a part of you that remains as like a detached observer?
Yeah.
That's Turiya kind of peeking through.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, there have been times when I felt this, stillness almost in the middle of all the chaos of my thoughts and emotions. It's like a quiet awareness that's just always there.
Yeah.
But it's often, drowned out by just daily life.
That's a great way to put it. The key is to shift our focus,
Okay.
From the content of our experience, the constant chatter of thoughts and emotions, to the observer of that chatter.
So it's not about silencing the mind,
Right.
but about being aware of who's witnessing it all.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's more about recognizing that I am not my thoughts. I am the awareness. That experiences them. And I can see how that can be really empowering.
Yeah.
Especially when you're, dealing with thoughts that are negative or, self-defeating.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The text we're looking at suggests that this practice of awareness can actually lessen the grip of negative emotions.
Wow.
So imagine when anger or desire arises, instead of being swept away by it, you have a choice.
Right.
You can just observe it without judgment. And that space, that shift in perspectives, allows you to respond to whatever challenges you're facing with more clarity and stability.
So cultivating this awareness isn't just some lofty spiritual ideal.
Right.
It has real world applications for how we deal with stress relationships, all of it.
Absolutely. And that actually leads us to another fascinating point in the text.
Okay.
It actually challenges our perception of control. It suggests that often we're living our lives on autopilot, just reacting to external circumstances without really understanding the forces that are at play.
That idea of being on autopilot really resonates with me.
Yeah.
It's sometimes I'm just going through the motions.
Yeah.
I'm not really present in my own life.
It's a common experience, and the text actually uses a funny little anecdote to illustrate this.
Okay.
It tells a story of this man who misses his train, but he thinks he caught it.
Wait, how is that possible?
Well, he was so focused on catching the train that he didn't realize he tripped and fell.
Yeah.
He gets back up, he boards a train, but it's the wrong one.
Oh, no.
Going in the opposite direction.
Wow.
His perception of reality was completely off.
That's a pretty powerful image of how easily we can be fooled by, what we think we're seeing.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, there are times when I've thought, oh, yeah, I'm in control. Only to realize later that I was just reacting out of habit or fear.
It's all part of this process of waking up to this deeper awareness, this Turiya. And the text suggests that recognizing this fourth state of consciousness can actually be a catalyst for real transformation in our lives.
Okay, so let's dive into that then.
Right.
What happens when we start to tap into Turiya?
Yeah.
What kind of transformations can we expect?
Well, the text describes some profound shifts. It says that dreams actually begin to lose their power over us as desires fade.
Okay.
The sense of separation from the world kind of dissolves, and it's replaced by this vision of interconnectedness.
Okay.
And this is what the text refers to as prana samachara.
Prana samachara.
It's the understanding that the same life force, the same energy flows through all things.
So it's about recognizing that interconnectedness.
Yes.
That we're not these separate, isolated beings, but rather part of a greater whole. That's a beautiful concept.
It is, and the text also uses this image of a lamp flame that becomes still in the absence of wind
Okay.
to describe the peace and clarity that comes with this shift in consciousness.
Yeah.
And as we become aware of our true nature, our turiya, we begin to see the divine in everything.
Okay.
And this is what's known as samadarshana,
Samadarshana?
state of profound equanimity where judgment and comparison just fall away.
That sounds like an incredibly liberating experience to see the world with that kind of like clarity and acceptance.
It is. And ultimately, according to the text, this awareness leads to a sense of unity with the divine, with Shiva, the source of all creation.
Wow. So uncovering this fourth state of consciousness within ourselves can lead to such a profound shift in our understanding of the world and our place in it. That's pretty powerful stuff.
It is a powerful journey, and the text doesn't shy away from the urgency of this awakening.
Oh, okay.
It warns that we are in constant danger of falling deeper into unconsciousness.
That sounds a bit ominous. What does it mean by that?
Well, think about young children and their natural sense of wonder and presence.
Yeah.
The text compares that to the often dulled awareness of adults, suggesting that as we grow older, we become more conditioned by societal expectations, past experiences, the constant influx of information and stimulation. We start to lose touch with that innate awareness that children embody so effortlessly.
Like we're slowly, being lulled into a state of sleepwalking through life.
The text actually uses a striking example to illustrate this point.
Okay.
A zoo exhibit showcasing the most dangerous animal of all, a mirror reflecting the viewer.
A mirror. What's so dangerous about that?
Well, the mirror is a symbol of our own minds, our potential for both great good and great harm.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reminder that we're the ones creating our own suffering through our ignorance, our attachments, and our fears.
So it's a call to take responsibility for our own awakening, to choose awareness over unconsciousness.
Are you choosing to cultivate awareness, or are you allowing yourself to be pulled further into the sleep of unconsciousness? That's a question the text poses to each of us.
That's a pretty powerful question, and I think it's one that each of us needs to consider carefully. But I'm curious, how exactly do we cultivate this awareness of Turiya?
Yeah.
How do we bring it into our everyday lives?
Well, the text offers specific guidance suggesting we start by irrigating our three familiar states of consciousness waking, dreaming, and deep sleep.
Okay.
With the awareness of the fourth state.
So it's like we're taking that golden thread of Turiya and weaving it through every aspect of our experience.
Precisely. Whether we're awake dreaming or in deep sleep, we can practice bringing that awareness of the observer into the forefront.
Okay.
And the text suggests starting with the waking state, as that's where we have the most conscious awareness.
Okay.
Even if it's just a sliver.
So using that sliver of awareness as a starting point, whenever we have a moment throughout the day, we can pause, take a breath, and remind ourselves, I am the observer, not the doer. Does that sound about right?
That's a great way to start. The text even suggests using physical cues to help us remember, things like tying a knot in your clothes or placing a pebble in your shoe.
Those little tricks sound surprisingly practical.
They can be very helpful.
I can see how they'd be effective in snapping us out of habitual patterns.
And as you practice this during your waking hours, you'll find it becomes easier to access this awareness in other states of consciousness, like dreaming and deep sleep.
So we're essentially training our minds to recognize and connect with Turiya,
Exactly.
no matter what state of consciousness we're in.
It's about cultivating that constant awareness, that ability to witness our experiences without getting completely lost in them.
Right.
And as we do this, as that awareness deepens, the text suggests that our experience of life begins to transform in remarkable ways.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued. What are some of those remarkable transformations? How does life change as we become more attuned to this fourth state of consciousness?
Well, the text describes some truly fascinating shifts. It says that as we awaken to Turiya, our dreams begin to change.
Okay.
They lose their power over us. We become more lucid, more aware that we're dreaming.
Right.
And as a result, the fears and anxieties that often haunt our sleep begin to dissolve.
That sounds incredibly liberating.
It is.
To no longer be at the mercy of our dreams,
Yeah.
but rather to experience them with a sense of awareness and even control.
Yeah.
That's something I think a lot of people would be interested in.
Absolutely. And the text goes even further, describing an even more profound shift that happens when we're able to bring this awareness into our deep sleep state.
Okay, tell me more about that. What happens when we awaken to Turiya in our sleep?
Well, the text uses this beautiful metaphor to describe this state. It says that when we awaken to Turiya in our sleep, we become like a lamp flame in a windless place, perfectly still and radiant.
Okay.
It's a state of pure consciousness,
Wow.
unclouded by thoughts, emotions, or sensations. And according to the text, this is the state of a true yogi,
Okay.
one who has awakened to their true nature.
So it's not about, contorting our bodies into pretzel shapes. No. It's about awakening to the ever-present reality of Turiya within.
Precisely. The physical postures and breathing exercises of yoga are simply tools to help cultivate this inner awareness.
Okay.
But the true transformation happens when we're able to access this state of consciousness in every aspect of our being.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about going beyond the external forms and rituals to connect with that deeper inner reality.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, the text mentions the urgency of this awakening, the danger of falling deeper into unconsciousness.
Yeah.
Does it also address the challenges of this journey?
It does. The text acknowledges that we've spent lifetimes cultivating habits of unconsciousness.
Right.
It takes time, patience, and persistent effort to break free.
But the text also emphasizes the rewards of this awakening,
Absolutely.
the freedom and peace that come from recognizing our true nature, right?
It talks about how desires begin to fall away, not because we're suppressing them, but because we no longer identify with them. We see them as passing phenomena, like clouds moving across the sky.
So we become less reactive, less driven by external circumstances, more rooted in that inner state of stillness and clarity.
Exactly. And as we awaken to Turiya, we start to see the world through new eyes. The illusion of separation dissolves, and we begin to experience a deep sense of interconnectedness with all things.
Yeah.
This is what the text refers to as prana samachara, the understanding that the same life force, the same energy flows through all beings.
And this realization, in turn, leads to samadarshana,
Yes.
a state of profound equanimity where we see the divine in everything and everyone.
We no longer judge or compare because we recognize the inherent unity that underlies all apparent differences.
And ultimately, this awareness leads to a sense of unity with the divine, with Shiva, the source of all creation.
It's a state of complete liberation where the ego dissolves and we merge with the infinite.
Wow. That's a pretty profound vision of what's possible when we awaken to Turiya. But is this something we eventually achieve?
Well,
or is it more of an ongoing process?
The text reminds us that this isn't a destination we arrive at. It's a journey of continuous unfolding, of deepening our awareness and recognizing our true nature in every moment.
So it's not about achieving some kind of static state of enlightenment.
Right.
It's about living life with greater presence, clarity, and compassion.
Exactly. And this brings us to another crucial point. The text raises the danger of mistaking our conditioned self for our true self.
Okay, what does the text mean by that?
Well, most of us live our lives identified with our thoughts, emotions, and social roles. We think these things define who we are, but they're just surface-level phenomena, like waves on the ocean.
So they're not the whole picture.
Right.
There's something deeper beneath the surface.
Exactly. The text uses a powerful metaphor.
Right.
Our true self is like a radiant sun, while our conditioned self is like a cloud that temporarily obscures the sun's light.
So it's not about getting rid of the cloud.
Right.
It's about recognizing that the sun is always shining behind it.
Exactly. And the more we cultivate awareness of Turiya, the more the cloud of our conditioned self begins to dissipate, revealing the radiant light of our true nature.
It sounds like a process of continuous self-discovery and refinement, peeling back those layers of conditioning to reveal our true essence.
That's a great way to put it. The text compares it to a sculptor chipping away at a block of marble to reveal the beautiful statue hidden within.
But I imagine that process can be challenging, right?
It can be.
Confronting our deepest fears and insecurities.
The text also warns against the dangers of spiritual materialism.
Spiritual materialism? What does that look like?
It's about using spiritual practices to inflate our egos or gain power and recognition.
So it's like we're using spirituality to build a bigger, fancier cloud around ourselves.
Yeah.
Instead of recognizing the sun that's already shining within.
That's a great analogy. And the text offers guidance on how to avoid these pitfalls. Emphasizing the importance of cultivating humility, honesty, and a willingness to let go of our attachments.
It's about being ruthless in examining our motivations and questioning our assumptions, right? Not just blindly following a path, but really understanding why we're on it.
You got it. It also highlights the importance of finding a genuine teacher. Someone who can guide us on this journey of self-discovery and help us see through our own illusions. But ultimately, the responsibility for our awakening lies within ourselves. We can't rely on anyone else to do the work for us.
So it's up to each of us to cultivate the awareness, the discipline, and the courage to uncover the radiant reality of Turiya within. That's a pretty empowering message.
It is.
But also a bit daunting. Is there anything in the text that offers encouragement or support
There is.
for those of us who are just beginning this journey?
The text offers a profound promise, saying that as we awaken to Turiya, we begin to experience a level of bliss and fulfillment that surpasses anything the world can offer.
Because we're no longer seeking happiness in external things.
Right.
We're discovering the source of all happiness within ourselves.
Exactly. And as we tap into that inner wellspring of joy, our lives become an expression of that joy.
Yeah.
We naturally radiate love, compassion, and wisdom into the world around us.
So our awakening becomes a gift not just to ourselves, but to all beings.
Yes. It's a beautiful vision of what's possible when we choose to awaken to the radiant reality of Turiya within. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the specific practices and techniques that the text outlines for cultivating this awareness and embarking on this transformative journey.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready to go deeper.
All right.
So we've established that, this journey towards uncovering Turiya, it's a process, not a destination.
Right.
And that it involves cultivating this deeper awareness of ourselves and the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
But where do we even begin? Are there specific steps or practices that we can implement that can help us connect with this fourth state of consciousness?
Absolutely. The text outlines a number of practices aimed at irrigating our everyday experiences with the awareness of Turiya. And remember, the goal isn't to force ourselves into some kind of transcendent state. It's really about integrating this awareness into our, waking, dreaming, and even deep sleep states.
So it's about bringing that awareness into the mundane, the everyday moments of our lives.
Precisely. One of the simplest yet most powerful practices the text recommends is to cultivate the awareness of being the observer, not the doer.
Right.
We touched upon this earlier, but it bears repeating.
Yeah.
Throughout your day, as you go about your usual activities, just make a conscious effort to remind yourself, I am the observer, not the doer.
I can see how that simple shift in perspective could have a really profound impact.
Yeah.
It's like taking a step back from that constant stream of thoughts and emotions and recognizing that we are not those thoughts and emotions,
Right.
but rather the awareness that experiences them.
Exactly. And the text suggests starting with the waking state, because that's where we tend to have the most conscious awareness,
Right.
even if it's just a fraction of our potential.
Makes sense. We need to work with what we've got.
Right.
But how do we actually make this a consistent practice? Life gets busy. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind and forget all about, being the observer.
That's where those physical cues that we mentioned earlier can come in handy.
Right.
Tying a knot in your clothing or placing a pebble in your shoe can serve as a gentle reminder throughout the day to reconnect with that awareness.
It's like having a little nudge from the universe to wake up and pay attention.
Yeah.
I love those kinds of practical tips.
They can be surprisingly effective.
Yeah.
And as you practice this during your waking hours, you'll find it becomes easier to access this awareness in other states of consciousness. Like dreaming and deep sleep.
Okay, let's talk about dreams. I'm fascinated by the idea that as we cultivate this awareness, our dreams can transform.
Yeah.
What exactly does the text say about that?
Well, the text suggests that as we integrate the awareness of Turiya into our waking lives, it naturally starts to seep into our dream state as well. We become more lucid, more aware that we're dreaming.
Right.
And this in turn allows us to observe the dream without getting swept away by its narratives and emotions.
So instead of being at the mercy of our dreams, we become active participants.
Yeah.
We can observe them with a sense of detachment, almost like watching a movie.
That's a great analogy. And as this lucidity increases, the fears and anxieties that often plague our dreams begin to lose their grip.
Okay.
The text suggests that this is because we're no longer identifying with the dream content.
Right.
We're recognizing it as a projection of our own mind rather than an objective reality.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
I can definitely see how that would lead to more peaceful and even insightful dream experiences.
Exactly. And as we become more adept at navigating our dream state with awareness, The text suggests that we can even begin to use our dreams as a tool for self-discovery and spiritual growth.
Wow, that opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
It does.
It's like we're unlocking a hidden potential within ourselves.
Precisely. And the text goes even deeper, describing an even more profound shift that occurs when we're able to bring this awareness into our deep sleep state.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Tell me about this awakening to Turiya in deep sleep. What does that look and feel like?
The text uses a beautiful metaphor to describe this state.
Yeah.
Imagine a lamp flame in a windless place, perfectly still and radiant. That's what it's like to awaken to Turiya in deep sleep.
Wow.
It's a state of pure consciousness, unclouded by thoughts, emotions, or sensations.
Okay.
And according to the text, this is the state of a true yogi one who has awakened to their true nature.
So it's not about, contorting our bodies into pretzel shapes,
Right.
but rather about accessing this state of pure awareness, this Turiya, in every aspect of our being, even in the depths of sleep.
Exactly. The physical postures and breathing exercises of yoga are simply tools to help us cultivate this inner awareness.
Okay.
But the true transformation happens when we're able to access this state of consciousness, regardless of our external circumstances or physical state.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about going beyond the external forms and rituals to connect with that deeper inner reality.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how do we even begin to cultivate this kind of awareness in deep sleep?
Yeah.
It seems like by definition, deep sleep is a state of unconsciousness.
It's true that deep sleep is a state of unconsciousness in the conventional sense.
Right.
But the text suggests that it's possible to cultivate a subtle awareness, even within this state. It recommends a practice of falling asleep with the mantra, "I am the witness," repeating gently in your mind.
So we're essentially planting a seed of awareness before we drift off to sleep, hoping that it will take root and blossom, even in the depths of our unconscious.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And the text suggests that with consistent practice, this seed of awareness will indeed take root and eventually blossom into a state of profound peace and clarity, even in the midst of deep sleep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like we're reclaiming our consciousness, even in those states where we typically have no control.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, the text mentions the challenges of this journey.
Yeah.
Does it offer any guidance or encouragement for those of us who inevitably encounter obstacles along the way?
The text acknowledges that we've spent lifetimes cultivating habits of unconsciousness. So it's natural to face challenges as we try to break free.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the importance of patience, persistence, and self-compassion.
Okay.
It reminds us that this is a journey, not a race, and that every step we take towards greater awareness is a victory.
It's a really reassuring message. It's easy to get discouraged when we stumble or fall back into old patterns.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that progress isn't always linear. It's about, consistently showing up for ourselves and recommitting to the practice, even when it feels difficult.
Exactly. And the text also reminds us that we don't have to do this alone.
Okay.
Seeking guidance from a genuine teacher, someone who has walked this path before us, can be incredibly helpful.
So finding a mentor, a community,
Yeah.
or even just a supportive friend who understands what we're going through can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. It's about leaning into those support systems when we need them.
But the text also emphasizes the rewards of this awakening, right?
Absolutely.
The freedom and peace that come from recognizing our true nature.
It talks about how desires begin to fall away.
Okay.
Not because we're suppressing them, but because we no longer identify with them so strongly.
So instead of being ruled by our desires, we're able to observe them with more detachment and make conscious choices about how we respond to them.
Exactly. We see them as passing phenomena, like clouds moving across the sky. We recognize that they don't define us, and we're no longer at their mercy.
That sounds incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
To be free from the tyranny of our desires.
It is.
But what about our relationships with others?
Yeah.
How does cultivating this awareness of Turiya impact how we interact with the people in our lives?
That's a really important question, and one that the text addresses directly. It suggests that as we awaken to Turiya, we start to see the world and the people in it through new eyes. The illusion of separation dissolves, and we begin to experience a deep sense of interconnectedness with all beings.
Yeah.
This is what the text refers to as prana samachara, the understanding that the same life force, the same energy flows through all things.
So instead of seeing ourselves as separate individuals, we start to recognize the inherent unity that connects us all.
Precisely. And this realization has a profound impact on our relationships. we become more compassionate, more understanding, and more forgiving. We're less likely to judge or criticize others because we recognize that we're all on this journey together, each of us doing the best we can with what we've got.
That's a beautiful vision of what's possible when we cultivate this kind of awareness.
It is.
It's like we're tapping into a wellspring of love and compassion that's always been there but was hidden beneath the surface.
Exactly. And as we allow that love and compassion to flow through us, our relationships transform.
Okay.
We experience deeper connection, greater intimacy, and a more profound sense of belonging.
Wow. It sounds like awakening to Turiya isn't just about like personal transformation.
Right.
It's about creating a more loving and harmonious world for everyone.
That's exactly right. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how this individual transformation can ripple outwards, impacting not just our personal relationships, but our communities, our societies, and ultimately the world as a whole.
I can't wait to dive into that. It feels like we're on the verge of something truly groundbreaking. We've been talking about Turiya, this fourth state of consciousness that exists beyond our usual experiences of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. And, we talked about how cultivating awareness of Turiya can lead to profound personal transformation.
Yeah.
That can impact everything from our relationships to our sense of self. But I'm curious about the ripple effect of this transformation. How does awakening to Turiya impact the world around us?
That's a great question, and it's one that the text addresses in a really profound way.
Okay.
It suggests that as we awaken to Turiya, our individual transformation naturally extends outwards, impacting our communities, our societies, and ultimately the world as a whole.
So it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
The more individuals who awaken to this deeper reality, the more that awareness kind of spreads throughout the collective.
That's a great way to put it. The text uses the analogy of a single lamp illuminating a dark room.
Okay.
As more and more lamps are lit, the darkness recedes and the entire room becomes bathed in light.
I love that analogy. It's a beautiful image of how individual transformation can contribute to a collective awakening. But how exactly does this play out in the real world? What does a society infused with the awareness of Turiya actually look like?
Well, the text paints a picture of a society where people are no longer driven by greed, fear, and competition.
Okay.
Instead, they're motivated by compassion, cooperation, and a deep understanding of interconnectedness.
So it's a society where people prioritize the well-being of the whole.
Yes.
Rather than just their own individual interests.
Exactly. The text suggests that as people awaken to their true nature, they naturally become more altruistic and compassionate. They recognize that their own happiness is inextricably linked to the happiness of others, and they begin to act accordingly.
That's a radical shift from the way our current society operates. I mean, we're so focused on individual achievement and material success that we often forget about our interconnectedness.
It's true. But the text reminds us that this individualistic mindset is not our true nature. It's a product of conditioning.
A result of living in a society that prioritizes competition over collaboration.
So by cultivating the awareness of Turiya, we're essentially reclaiming our inherent capacity for compassion and connection.
Exactly. The text suggests that these qualities are not something we need to acquire.
Okay.
They're already present within us, waiting to be uncovered.
That's a really empowering message. It means that a more compassionate and just world, it's not some utopian ideal, but rather a possibility that lies dormant within each of us.
That's right. And the text doesn't shy away from the challenges involved in creating such a world.
Okay.
It acknowledges that we're up against powerful forces that perpetuate greed, violence, and inequality.
So it's not going to be an easy journey.
Right.
But the text also suggests that it's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely. The text reminds us that even the smallest acts of kindness and compassion can have a ripple effect, spreading outwards and inspiring others to do the same.
So it's not about waiting for some grand societal shift to occur.
It's about taking responsibility for our own awakening and allowing that transformation to radiate outwards into the world around us.
Precisely. And the text offers some practical guidance on how to do that. It emphasizes the importance of cultivating mindfulness in our daily lives, paying attention to our thoughts, our words, and our actions.
So it's about bringing that awareness of Turiya into every moment, no matter how mundane or insignificant it might seem.
Exactly. The text suggests that by cultivating mindfulness, we become more aware of the impact our choices have on others.
Okay.
And we're more likely to make choices that are aligned with our values of compassion and interconnectedness.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about living in alignment with our true nature, both internally and externally.
That's right. And the text goes even further, suggesting that as we cultivate this awareness, we begin to see the world as a reflection of our own minds.
So if we want to see a more peaceful and compassionate world, we need to start by cultivating those qualities within ourselves.
Exactly. The text uses the metaphor of a mirror to illustrate this point.
Okay.
Just as a mirror reflects back to us whatever we place in front of it, so too does the world reflect back to us the state of our own consciousness.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're not just passive observers of the world around us. We're active participants, and our thoughts, our words, and our actions have the power to shape our reality.
That's right. And the text offers a profound challenge. If we want to see a world that is free from suffering, we need to start by cultivating a mind that is free from suffering.
So it's not about trying to change the world out there, but rather about transforming the world within.
Precisely. The text suggests that as we awaken to the reality of Turiya, we begin to experience a deep sense of peace and fulfillment that is independent of external circumstances.
So our happiness is no longer contingent on things going our way. We're able to find contentment and joy, even in the midst of, life's inevitable challenges.
That's the promise of Turiya. It's about discovering a source of happiness that is not dependent on anything outside of ourselves.
And as we cultivate this inner peace and happiness, it naturally radiates outwards, impacting those around us.
Exactly. The text suggests that the most powerful way to change the world is to simply be an embodiment of the qualities we wish to see in the world.
So if we want to see a world that is more loving, compassionate, and just, we need to start by cultivating those qualities within ourselves.
That's the essence of the text message. It's a call to awaken to our true nature, to embrace our interconnectedness, and to live in alignment with our highest values.
That's a powerful message to end on. It feels like we've just scratched the surface of this profound concept of Turiya, but I'm excited to continue exploring it and see how it unfolds in my own life.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, the journey to Turiya is not a solitary one. There are countless resources, teachers, and communities out there to support you along the way.
Well, I'm definitely feeling inspired to dive deeper. And for those of you listening, I encourage you to do the same. Who knows, maybe together we can create a world that reflects the peace, love, and wisdom of Turiya. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Please like, share, and subscribe.